Thank you very much, Swamiji, for doing this. A question that is asked of all Mahatmas, which is what brought you to Vedanta?
When I was doing my MBBS, the question arose, what next? Then I realized, what next? After MBBS, MD, then do more super specialization, then go academic, research. Then the farthest I could go was Nobel Prize in Medicine. Then I thought, after that, again, what next would never go. Again, on the day I got the Nobel Prize, next day I would think, what next? Then, okay, I thought I will go the money way, the material success way. Do private practice, earn more money, have so many houses in all different countries and everything. Then I said, even then, what next would not go, and I won't have time to enjoy any of those things that I had. Then is enjoyment everything? What is the purpose of life? This, and seeing the world, the inequalities in the world, the suffering in the world, suffering in the medical wards when I was seeing the patients. Somebody who wants to live, they say, doctor, please save me, I have to take care of my children, I want to be there, I don't want to die. Next moment they would die. Then somebody would have so much of pain, cancer, and next every moment is a torture. Please do something to take me away, and they will not go. So somebody wants children, they don't get. Somebody has 10 children, they have another child. Then I said, what is it anybody wants and what is it anybody gets? What does anybody get? Then what is this world? Why is it here? What is the logic behind this world? And what do people want, and whether they get it or they don't get it? And in relationships also. It seems in all relationships, people say relationships are very important, very good, etc. But in every relationship, they want only the money. They want only the money, the property. A brother is ready to kill the brother. The kings all have done that. Kings and queens have all done that. They have poisoned their relatives for kingdom, for this. So what is it anybody wants? Why this whole world has come? At one point I was ready to think, if there is a God, then that God is the biggest, saddest of all, to make everybody put us into this world and make us suffer, and he is simply sitting there and it is Leela for him. He is just simply sitting there and he is enjoying all our sufferings. This was my state of my mind when I met Swamiji. Then I had met him before, but first really the teaching, I was already into the study groups in Chembur. We were studying Bhajagovindam, Art of Living first, Bhajagovindam, then Atma Bodha and all that. But I really properly Swamiji presenting this whole pursuit of life and this solution to this problem of life was when we arranged the Yajna of Swamiji, 6th chapter of Gita, and full 12 days. Then Swamiji went through what is Purushartha, pursuit in life, what does one want, and what is it that the ultimate, what everybody seeks, whether they know it or not, knowingly or unknowingly. Over the shoulders, his words, over the shoulders of Artha Kama, Dharmartha Kama, over the shoulders of Dharmartha Kama, one seeks only moksha. When he wants money, he wants freedom from not wanting any more money. And when he has Kama, he wants freedom from seeking Kama. And freedom from Dharma is to not to seek anything but to gain whatever one has to gain through that. So when I heard all this in that 12 days, then he presented Arjuna's problem, Arjuna's Purushartha Vichara, and he presented the Pramana and how this knowledge is the solution, and this knowledge is in the Veda, in the Shruti, in the Upanishad, and the Bhagavad Gita is the Smriti. Wherever it is told, in whichever language, in Swahili, if somebody says, you are that limitless Brahma, Jagat Karanam, Brahma is you don't have to become anything. Then you don't have to gain anything more. You have to only know. It's only in terms of knowledge. There is only that what is obstructing you is not knowing. You have to only know and be free. Then it was done. That was done. From that day, I never looked back about what my purpose was and how I was going to go about it. The teacher was there, the pramanam was there, and that is all. And from that day, I never looked back. He used to say, if somebody told me that after leaving this body, going to somewhere else, you will get that freedom, I would not have touched this knowledge with a barge pole. He told about himself. Then it is here and now. You don't have to do anything, only you have to know. For that you have to do so much, I came to know later. But this is what really, really, really made me aware of what the purpose of life is. And that was a day of enlightenment and of purpose of life. That was an enlightenment day. That what the purpose of life and what I want to do. And that is how I got hooked on to Vedanta and Swamiji and the Shastras.
We have received so much from Pujya Swamiji.
Yeah.
Anything in particular that you would like to highlight for Vedanta students?
After coming and studying from him, previously before coming to the course, studying so many years, I always say Rama's Vanavasa was 14 years, my Vanavasa was 16 years. I decided in 1974 and I came to study full-time with Swamiji in 1990. So my Vanavasa from this was 16 years. Then coming, and then since then, till he breathed his last, I never left his side. In all that, what I have understood, the maximum that all of us who are mumukshus, jigyasus, jnanis, and who wants nishtha in that jnanam, from Swamiji what he can gain is his nature of not hurting anybody by thought, word and deed, especially by word. Even for myself, that is the biggest challenge for me. Whenever I take permission from Swamiji for my course, I do Ashirvad from him. Swamiji, I am starting the next course, I want Ashirvada. I ask him only for one thing. Swamiji, I want from you Jihva me madhumattama. That being alert, that should come natural with this knowledge. Since I am everything, everybody is me, where is the question of deliberately hurting anybody? Deliberately hurting anybody will never come for anybody who understands. But not being alert with our actions and words, and in that lack of alertness, we speak something and that something could hurt somebody. Then to retrieve it and to undo that hurt seems to be impossible. So this I understood from his life and from him, and always I asked him for this to bless me. And even today, honestly, that is my biggest challenge even today. To the extent he had perfected it, I am a long way off. And if at all I want to do anything to gain anything more, there is nothing more to gain. Everything is gained. Everything is myself. There is nothing to gain. But in the conduct of this life in this body, if there is anything I have to gain, I still have to gain only that. How he says, Jihva me madhumattama, how he is, how he was. That is what I want to gain from him.
Very, very honest and very humble of you to say this.
No, this is the truth, absolute truth. This is the absolute truth.
We know that Shravanam is the main sadhana. Other than that, what are the sadhanas that have helped you and which will help other Vedanta students?
The Shastra is very clear about Adhikaritva. Without Mumukshutvam, then Viveka, then one cannot come. And once Viveka is coming, then Vairagya has to come, then only the pursuit is clear. So the choice is very important. Kathopanishad says, Mundakopanishad says, which choice I made in 1974, Yameva Esha Vrunute, Tena Labhyaha. That is most important. It is there in Kathopanishad, it is there in Mundakopanishad. That choice will bring everything that is needed. Then it is only fine-tuning our personality, fine-tuning what every mumukshu becomes a jignasu, like Swamiji would say, the mumukshutvam should get converted to jignasa. That it is a teacher's job. With the Shastra and the teacher it will come. But what is most important for every sadhaka, every mumukshu, is even the sadhaka, mumukshu is all not the word. I would say for every person who wants to understand his own swarupa and be free from limitation, what is most important is to choose. What lifestyle one chooses to gain this is immaterial. That is the genius of Bhagavad Gita. You live in an ordinary mainstream lifestyle, committed to this knowledge with Ishwararpana Buddhi, Prasada Buddhi, you will gain knowledge. What is yoga? What is Sankyam? Yaf pashyati sapashyati. Ekam cha Sankyam cha yogam cha yaf pashyati sapashyati. Krishna will say, and those who are ready with the disposition of pursuing this knowledge to the exclusion of everything, for them only this knowledge. Then if the choice is clear and one is ready to commit one's life for the choice, everything else that is needed will come automatically. That is each one custom made for each one. That is where in those 16 yajnas that he talks about in the 14th chapter, each one of us, for me, if too much talking is my problem, then my ahuti yajna should be, I should put the tendency to talk, should go as ahuti in the fire of silence. If not talking is my problem, then my inability to talk should go in the fire of talking what is necessary. So each one has to realize and make their life a yajna like this. And that is how the Shamadama, everything is meaningful. And whole life one has to work for this. One has to be, what I would say more than work for this, one has to be alert to this knowledge. This is another word from Swamiji I picked up. I will never forget, and I always use it in my class. My students also say, we'll never forget this word that you have to be alert. So once you have the vision and you understood in every way completely by Shravanam, then what makes you go back from the knowledge? What makes you go away from the knowledge is the lack of alertness at that point about yourself. So you have to be alert to this knowledge, and to every value also one has to be alert. So this alertness is what is most important. That is what everybody will say, apramatto bhava. Apramatto bhava. Then another thing very important for a mumukshu is never to put yourself down. Natmanam avasadayet. Uddharet atmana atmanam. Kushalanna pramaditavyam in the Taittiriya. That kushala means you be well-being in yourself. You have to be relatively happy with yourself. Then only you can understand. This is again Swamiji. Relatively you have to be successful, then you will get the absolute understanding and be free. So the relatively being kind to yourself, to not to put yourself down, and kumshalanna pramaditavyam. Take care of the body because it isn't given to you in trust. Take care of your mind. That mind is the most important instrument to know. This knowledge is not gained. Yato vacho nivartante aprapya manasa saha. It is not an object of the mind. Atma is not an object of the mind. Brahman is not an object of the mind. Brahmatma is not object of the mind. But manasa eva anudrashtavyam. This mind is a tool. Where the ignorance is, it has to be removed. So one has to take care of your mind. The inner taking care that one has to do. And in that one has to be loving, kind. You should have this TLC to yourself, tender loving care, Bombay language, TLC to yourself. You have to give and then somehow retain this knowledge that you cannot move away from this knowledge. That is what is Shravana Manana Nididhyasana is all about. Again, it is not something, some enlightenment will take place in Nididhyasanam. In Nididhyasanam, you will own up this knowledge. That again Swamiji's words, you will own up this knowledge. You will not be away from this knowledge. And then once you own up, then you can never move away from this. In this, I have a my own special example. All my examples are 90% Swamiji's examples. My own example for being alert to this knowledge or alert to the values of the readiness of the mind is once I went to the Guruvayur temple and we were all finished our darshan. We were waiting for the evening procession, all of us. Then one elephant had come for the evening procession. It was there in the yard, in the temple yard outside. And lot of coconut leaves were put there for it to eat. But a lot of children were going, adults were going, it was getting disturbed. So what that man did, that Mahot did, he took one big stick and put that stick behind the one ear of this elephant. And he told that elephant, keep that stick standing straight all the time. He gave the adesha, keep that stick, it should not fall. It should keep it there, he said. And this next 5 hours, this elephant was doing so many things. He was bending down, eating, taking like this, shaking like this, but this stick was here. It did not fall. If he had moved this ear even by mistake, stick would have fallen. But he, being, we say, only five indriyas it has. It doesn't have the Viveka Buddhi. It doesn't have the 6th indriya of Viveka Buddhi, the free will that we have. It has rudimentary free will. But this elephant had the discipline of keeping that stick for the next 5 hours till that man removed that stick. I was watching, I was going here and there, coming back and seeing if the stick is there. Still it is sticking. If that elephant can be alert to the stick all the time behind the ears, this is what every mumukshu, every jnani, everybody has to do. Be alert to this knowledge. Be alert to everything else related, the values, the readiness of the mind, everything. Once we have to be, just to be alert to this knowledge. The key word is being alert. Apramatto bhava. So then you are that. There is nothing more to gain. You are already that. Nothing stops you from enjoying that freedom because you are always alert to that freedom.
What can be the approach of a mumukshu while studying in public, and what can be the approach of a mumukshu while in a full-time course? Because the approach might be slightly different.
See, a mumukshu is a mumukshu. Mumukshu, they say tivra mumukshu, less mumukshutvam. That I would say mumukshu has become a mumukshu. His hair is on fire, he is going to jump into water. Only such a person is a real mumukshu, other one is only curiosity, out of curiosity. But even those who come out of curiosity can be taught that they become mumukshu and jigyasa. This can be done in like outside classes without full time, be living with the teacher. It can be done, but in that setup, only a committed mumukshu who understood this purpose will gain whatever a full-time student will gain, he will also gain. There is no question about that. Because I have been both. First 16 years of my life, I was doing my medical practice, full-time medical practice, obstetrician practice, but I listened to all the Swamiji's talks of everything and studied and did everything I had to do. Only what made the difference was the mumukshutvam. That would not let me sit without doing that. Then it is little bit, in one way more difficult, little bit easier because you have an outlet to do something else and come back to this. It depends, but what makes the difference is only the mumukshutvam. But even for the mumukshu, it is good to come one time for a full 3-year course where you have no other commitment because you are going a place to stay. Food is served time to time, bell rings, you go and eat. Everything is taken care of. If no electricity, no water, everything other people are managing. It's a managed lifestyle and your job is only to study. If one is ready for that, then it is very useful to do one 3-year course for a mumukshu. Now for me, for a teacher, what kind of teaching should I do? I chose this full-time teaching. It has got a lot of challenges because all the transferences and all the psychological problems and issues, all of them will come. When I started the course, Swamiji said on that day, you are a sitting duck for a transference. I got only father transference. You being a lady and call yourself Mataji, you will get a father transference and mother transference, both. But this is what you asked for, this is what you are going to get, and you deal with it. So that is the challenge. The daily teaching is a pleasure. It is just seeing oneself in the mirror every day with the Shastra. And I am very thankful to my students who are there for 3 years with me, day in and day after, giving me a mirror to hold in front of me. So I can speak those words and relive that knowledge for myself. Actually, instead of they thanking, I thank them. That is for me. but it comes with a package deal of all dealing with all their personal problems, interpersonal problems, and then studying Vedanta itself brings down all the things that had been put under the carpet by the human being from the time they came. Many of them go back to childhood. They were adults functioning because they were putting under the carpet, they were functioning outside, they were working, earning money, and they were very successful. But they when come here, every problem that was put under the carpet all comes out now. And now they have to deal with it, and the teacher has to help. Sometimes, with all humility, I would say, sometimes it is impossible to help them. And you have to keep on trying. There is a breaking point. If they cross over that breaking point, they become all right. They don't cross over, they will leave and go. That is a trauma for them, and that is a regret for me. But this all will happen in a 3-year course. If you are only staying in your house, you are going to a place, you are teaching people, you can only teach, tell them be good, do this, do all this, gain this knowledge, then you say bye-bye and you come away. You don't face all these problems. You may face if you are allow them to come, depends on Swamiji used to always say where you draw the boundary. How far you let them come to you and tell their problems and how far you get involved depends on each teacher. But in general, either full-time teacher or part-time teaching, these problems will come to a teacher. That it is like, this is what is walking the knife's edge. For the student walking the knife, Churasya Dara Iva in Kathopanishad, he is letting all those previous impressions and everything coming and impinging now and getting over them and seeing the light at the end of the tunnel for the student and for the teacher to show that light at the end of the tunnel. In spite of the whole thing seem to be covered, clouded, see there is a little ray of sunlight there. That is the job, which is more so in a full-time situation. And that is the biggest responsibility that lies on my shoulders always. That is the weight that is little bit difficult to carry. Otherwise, daily teaching is just being oneself. That doesn't take much out of this. But for the student to pick up the scholarship is a tool. Grammar, the methods of interpretation of the words, how each word is to be taken and broken and understood. All this to pick up, the 3-year course gives a full time for them. And that I really enjoy. They all come to me so raw, not even going alphabet. Then I make them as big a scholar as I could be, as I am. And I always tell them, because of this grammar as a tool and the language as a tool, now I can read Bhashyam like reading newspaper. I promise you, if you will work with me, I will make you like that. And when I see that happening, it's a very big joy for me, that end. That is the reason I also teach grammar. Because then when I have taught them grammar with the idea that how they should work in the Bhashyam, then in the Bhashyam I will say, see, I told you in the other class, this is what it is. So I can connect the two class. So I take up this big onerous responsibility of teaching the grammar and the language and the Vedanta Shastra. But I like it that line by line, I hold each one by the finger and bring them across this and make them see what I can see. Like how Swamiji made me see what he saw. From a vantage point, he made me see what he saw. I love doing this, making them see what I see. And I don't think I can have any better life than this. I'm most happy with doing what I'm doing.